Talk about something really important today when it comes to regulation around money, around wealth, and where a lot of people get it wrong, and it keeps them trapped in this loop that doesn't allow them to actually access pure overflow. It doesn't allow them to feel that light as a feather feeling when money is coming in, when money is going out, and as you are allowing your wealth to compound. So the biggest thing that you need to remember is that regulation is not a practice. Regulation is a state. But what happens is most people are performing regulation. So what does performing regulation look like, right? Especially when it comes to money. You are doing affirmations. You are journaling, scripting. You are tapping, hoping to get a result. Like if I tap enough, then I will be safe to receive money. Let me journal and script this to lock in the frequency. All right, if I do enough of these rituals and practices, then I'll become magnetic. All of that is performance. All of that is performing regulation, not actually existing in a regulated state. And what that does is all of that just creates more tension and more resistance in your nervous system, which is why you need to keep doing it, right? It's regulating the surface of your system temporarily, but it's not actually addressing the root of your regulation so that you not only feel safe to receive money, but you feel open and quote unquote magnetic all the time, right? It's not a practice or a vibe you have to get into to receive money. You are just the woman money wants to pour into. But the only way to become the woman that money wants to pour into is to stop performing regulation and to simply exist in that state as well. So I really want you to think about, where have you been performing regulation? Where have you gotten trapped in the tapping, ice baths, mindset, affirmations, journal scripting, vision boards that are keeping you performing? Another big one that I see with so many women, and this is going to be so useful for you because you're going to have so many ahas from this live, is let me rest to receive. It's like, okay, Liv, all right, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to rest so that money comes in. Okay, I'm going to, take it easy so that more clients come in. Oh, I'm going to do this so that, right? It's regulating to get a result, not regulation is who you are. But when you're doing that, when you're performing regulation to get a result, you are reinforcing the separation between you and money. You are confirming, hey, this is something I'm no longer, I'm not it right now, right? Money is something outside of me. I need to perform in some kind of way. And remember, you are not a monkey. You don't need to perform for money. I need to perform in some way in order to receive money. When you engage in these things from that point of separation, you reinforce that. And I guarantee you know this because you'll do it. You'll feel good for maybe 5-10 minutes, an hour, but then something will happen with money and all of a sudden it's like, shit, and you flinch, you brace. And then you reach for those practices again. All right, let me just tap away. All right, let me just affirm to try to get back to that place. Instead, right, when you regulate from your core, from your root, you become that divine rich woman who doesn't need to perform practices, rituals, things in order to receive money. This is the difference between regulation to get a result and regulation as an identity recalibration, where your identity is simply the woman who receives money, is simply the woman who is fully seen, fully paid, and fully in her power. So yeah, money is the place she wants to pour into. Money moves in devotion to her. This is so important, and I'm so excited for you, because if you can allow yourself to exit this loop of performing regulation instead of existing in regulation, the way that money will flow to you, my God, You will be amazed. You'll be in shock. And then we get into the of course energy, because in my world, money is not really exciting. It's who you are. It's an of course. But you will realize that, like, oh, I don't actually have to perform to receive money. Which is huge. Because all that is, right, and this is like a big thing that has happened over the last few years, is that more and more people are doing all of these nervous system practices. But you've just traded hustle culture for nervous system hustle masked in spiritual language. It looks more pretty because it looks like you're doing all these vibey things, but you believe you have to do them in order to receive. You've already created conditions like, all right, I need to do this routine and journal and affirm and blah, 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 blah. But then you will always need to do that in order to receive. And you will hit a point where it's exhausting, where it feels like, oh, like I keep having to like push. And now I'm not like pushing, maybe forcing in work and forcing and overworking, but I'm pushing to do all these practices, or like, oh, I need to like make myself rest so that I can receive. That doesn't feel light in the system, right? It doesn't feel light in the feather. In my world, millions feel light as a feather. That is the standard. That doesn't feel light. You just traded the hustle for the rituals. This is so huge. And so what I really invite from you today and going forward is to really bring conscious awareness to where you are still performing your regulation, where you are engaging in these practices and all of these things in order to get a result. Because that's not true regulation. Regulation isn't a practice, regulation is a state. And the great thing is that once you exist in that state, you do not need to manage your system. This is so funny when people ask me, what rituals, what practices do you do to get into money? I'm like, I don't need to do a ritual or practice. I am money. I am the frequency of it. And then all of that time and space that is freed up from having to manage your nervous system, you get to just go and like live your life and chill and relax, and not chill to get a result, but chill because like you are the divine rich woman. So like, why wouldn't you do that? You become the empress of your life. I'm really excited for you. I'm excited for this to be the end of you performing. I'm excited for you to realize that you never had to perform in order to receive, I'm gonna say, buttloads of money. That money is just simply responding to who you are. And that you never had to jump through hoops and do all of these things. You just needed to do that nervous system recoding at the root level to exist in that state. That identity calibration that doesn't need to be managed. You just are it. And the truth is, you've always been it. But you have all of these outside layers that say that you need to perform, you need to do in order to receive. But now's the time you trade the doing for receiving. You unlink the hook, right, between performing and receiving. Like perform enough rest. Maybe the money will come in. All of that stuff. And you feel the lightness. You feel the spaciousness. That relief of the weight off of your shoulders, that you never had to do anything else in order to receive. You simply had to come back to truth. Come back to the truth of who you are and who you've always been. You get into that receiving zone, where you anchor in those frequencies of effortless receiving, and you recode your system for wealth. Let this land. Really audit yourself, and I will see you later.